Hey everyone, welcome back to another Godzilla Battleline video, and today I am joined by Comics, another Godzilla Battleline YouTuber and current record holder, I believe is record holder for the longest win streak in Godzilla Battleline, which I could imagine it. What would you just say it was, like 900 something?
959.
That is actually crazy. I think that's ridiculous. I wanted to say something else, but it might have been a little too vulgar for this early in the video. So I'm going to be playing with it in the background of this video, but I'm going to let you talk, and I got some questions for you about it. So I already asked you this question, but I had to cut the video short. Ask it to you again. What was your thought process when you made this deck? Are you going for anything particular, or you just like wanted to use levels? Because you're using Administration One's account. So like,
Yeah.
did you just want to like put together any kind of old deck, or like, what's the deal here?
So funny enough as it is, originally, like when I first got access, when administration let me the account, my first thing I instantly wanted to do was try out a Max Destroyer. So when I got the account, I instantly tried to build something around Destroyer. Originally, it was just Destroyer, and then I kind of plugged and played everything else into it, like GMK, Eva Zero, 10th Angel, and Kumo. Those are all units I never really used personally myself because I don't have the levels or nothing for it. So that was instantly intrigued me. 10th Angel was really a unit I wanted to see what was up, like what it could do at a higher level, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That felt really cool. Just to be honest, it was kind of just like a mess around kind of deck. Then when I started playing, I kind of noticed like, oh wow, okay, this thing's kind of compete with like whales and stuff, you know, like Japanese whales and all that. So at that point, I kind of took it a little more serious, and I was like, okay, this thing can do definitely lay a punch to it. So it kind of just went from there, to be honest.
All right, all right. Well, big fan of that. Listen, I'm enjoying using the deck. I'm using it on the screen. I've been using it as well, like offline, like when I'm not making videos and stuff, and
Yeah,
I'm really liking it. I think I have like my levels are lacking, but I think I could rock with this deck if I got a little bit more levels onto Unit 0. I think she's
yeah,
pretty good. So speaking of Unit 0, mine is only level 9, so I'm thinking about swapping her out with Burning Godzilla, right? Because they do kind of a similar thing. But I
yeah.
wanted to ask you, because you're the master with the deck, what characters do you think could be swapped out, even with the variation of it that you're using? Like, what characters do you think you could be like, oh, it might not, I could have a better option here, maybe?
Yeah. So personally, I think there was like two other variants I had before that one, which was I had Psychic Chorus originally for Destroyer, which was like a
Mm-hmm.
big change. And then my other one was I had Fourth Angel instead of Eva Zero. So that was like kind of the same role. So I kind of decided to go with Eva Zero instead, even though Fourth Angel did do the same role. But in my opinion, I think those two were like the biggest changes you could probably do if you really wanted to. Didn't have the levels. I think Fourth Angel plays pretty good too instead of Eva Zero if you wanted to. I think that's pretty good.
Okay, fourth angel. I was thinking about using him too. Mine's coming up in the levels with my fourth angel.
Yeah.
I'm really liking Destroy though. I'm a
Oh
big
yeah.
fan of Destroy. Really early on, I was like, you know what? He's kind of trash right now, but I feel like with maybe a few buffs, he could be
Yeah.
really solid. Even when he first dropped, the final form was really good. But
Yeah.
like, I'm really enjoying him. But do you? I feel like you gotta have some kind of strategy for using him, or do you just like drop him? Because I'm just like letting him evolve and dropping him and just letting him go.
Yeah, so like most of the time when the game starts, like to me a good hand would be GMK, Eva Zero, Destroya, and like Camarcus's or Cam's either one, you know? So
Okay.
to me that's a good starting hand. At the start of the game, I always love putting Eva Zero in the back, let it get up like halfway to the field until it pulls the shield out, instantly drop GMK. Then at that point I like to put Kuma down so all three of them are going together. And keep in mind too, whenever I'm doing it, I put them like in a spread form. Like even though GMK is behind Eva Zero, I put Spider like usually on the right side or left side, so it's kind of spread out at that point.
Don't
Whenever I
want to
have
have him too
Dimension Tide,
close.
yeah. So at that point, like Dimension Tides and cycle, so I can kind of just pull, kind of dictate the map, whatever I want to do. So at that point, I usually get a big push going, and then I drop the Destroyer like on the opposite side. So at that point, they have to choose if they want to kill it or obviously, back the push. But that's usually what I do is like form a big push and then put Destroyer on the opposite side to get it up.
Okay, okay. I'm kind of like bunching things together, but I'm just used to like laying down all the bombs, keeping the bomb
Yeah,
meta alive, doing like GMK, 4th Angel, burning all in like a row together.
yeah,
So I haven't considered spreading things out. I think literally in the game that I just played while you were talking, I had them all clumped together in the middle. So I'm gonna as soon as you said spread them out, I was like, all right, well I'm gonna put Unit 0 on the far left and go from
yeah,
there. So all right, that's valid. I gotta keep trying that out.
yeah,
I am curious to know because you are going up against other whales, obviously. You're going up
yeah.
against a lot of the top players with a very unorthodox deck. So I wanted to know what are the most challenging decks for you to go up against when you're using this specific list. I know that with obviously the levels are very big, so you have a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
But I know there's got to be some list that you see them and you're like, oh my god, like this again.
Yeah. So usually, like the first two that come to my mind is definitely playing against Biolante or Final Warskagin. Definitely those two I'd say is the biggest threat. Just because like the only thing I really have as an answer to that is just GMK like Eva 0, but at that point I'm kind of just throwing it down instead of like, I'm having to burn it when I don't want to defend against
Hmm.
it. But I definitely say those two units are definitely the ones that are pretty challenging, especially when you play like higher players. But definitely those two. That's a
So Biolante as a Biolante on the field, you're saying?
yeah, on the field when they put it
Okay,
down
okay,
for 3, and then yeah, final worst again.
okay. Got you. So everyone, listen up. Final Wars Geigen and Violante. You're trying to go for this man's
Yeah,
record right here. That's how you're gonna do it. But I know we probably talk about this for a bit. Is something that I was interested in talking to because as soon as I
yeah,
showcased this video, I immediately started getting messages like, "Oh, if I had these levels, I can make anything work too." So I want to give you the floor to defend your your deck here.
yeah,
I'm running this, and keep in mind I'm playing it live while we're talking, and the deck with the levels that I have is what's on the screen right now. I think maybe my common rider is level 11 now. That might be the only difference from what I'm showing on screen and then what the deck that I have on screen and the characters I'm actually using on the field.
yeah.
What do you have to say about all of that? I think the deck is pretty good all around. I think obviously levels are part of it, but I feel like levels for any deck really are a major part, right? So what do you got to say about this deck? I'm going to give you the floor to just talk about it because you've a lot more experience running it than I do.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, obviously, pointing it out, obviously levels are a huge, like, huge leeway for it. But my honest opinion, like, I feel like it gets thrown out the window when you play against other whales and top players. Because the majority of the time, I understand it's like, okay, you're playing the average player, and like, okay, you're gonna win just because levels are stronger than what they have. But a lot of the times I was playing, a lot of the streak wins were based off of like whales, I'd say, encounters. So
Hmm.
at that point, I feel like it got kind of thrown out the window just because if you take 10th Angel at a higher level, like at 40, Kumo at 40, at that point, to me, it's like it's kind of funny because if I'm using that against what they have, like Japanese whales or anybody else who has like a Max Bylante, Max Leo, Max Fireda, and Max Batra, kind of different scenario because the units I have are more situational based on I have to wait and play line more like smartly compared to them.
Hmm.
Well, obviously they just drop those and it's like it's doing heavy damage off the bat. I mean, even Keydudes, like stuff like that. I mean, playing against like that is really tough just because you have to make like smarter choices instead of burning your cards.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like I understand levels are a big thing, but it's also too like the deck I chose to run. It felt like it had a lot of answers, but it was also too you had to be smart with what you like threw out in a way. So I mean, I think it was
I
kind of
get
the
that. I'm playing it right now, and I'm finding myself having to make a lot more different decisions than I would normally make
yeah,
running my typical deck. Where I'm like, okay, like they're now playing a burning on this side. I know like my levels are a little bit weaker. Like I know Kumo will go down like really
yeah,
quickly, so I'm like trying to figure out like where Kumo needs to be placed in order to get like the best job done, or like, oh,
yeah,
am I gonna, burning is over here, is this where I want to throw down the 10th angel to
yeah,
absorb that explosion, like I'm trying to make like, because they're characters that I normally wouldn't use, and
yeah.
I'm finding myself in a lot more situations that I normally wouldn't find myself in with this deck. So I think there's a lot of really creative solutions with this deck to, I want to say creative solutions to modern problems, right? Like the meta. But
Yeah.
I feel like also there are a lot of times where I'm like getting like tripped up. Like maybe something's a little too tanky. I feel like between like the 10th Angel and Kumo, there's not, and even with the Ava unit, like sometimes the damage I find myself I'm lacking in certain areas. Like how
Yeah.
do you like mitigate that?
So like usually what I like to do is that when the game starts, I kind of like to let them make the first move, then I kind of go based off
Mhm.
of that. But like a lot of the majority of the time, it is Eva 0 and GMK that are doing the heavy damage. Like levels or not, it's like that's kind of a push that can guarantee you damage because Eva 0 obviously it's guaranteed damage either way, like at any level. Once that shield comes out, the rocket comes out, boom, damage. But for me, what I like to do is have them two go down the field. Usually dimension tide it for that extra like over the top damage. And right there,
Mhm.
that's obviously doing heavy damage alone. But the funny part to me is that keep in mind too that even though Kumo is at a higher level, he is like nerfed obviously really like to the ground. So at that point, it's
Yeah.
not necessarily the same Kumo. I only have him in there just for that stun. That's all I wanted for that purpose. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So now you mentioned Kumo, you have him there for the stun. We're recording this video before the King of the Monster season, so we don't have Mothra 2019 yet. We don't have Ghidorah 2019 yet.
yeah.
Do you see yourself maybe slotting in Mothra instead of Kumo? Because she seems like she's doing kind of what he does, but that's single target, right? That's not
Yeah.
AoE, but she has a lot more health. She's a little bit more expensive. do you think that you're going to reevaluate Kumo's place in here when she comes to the game, or you think you could probably run this deck exactly the same going forward? Because King Ghidorah is coming in with a damage buff, like a perpetual damage buff, right?
Yeah.
So, are you at all worried for any of these new units coming
I
in?
mean, personally, I'm open to it. I mean, I definitely not going to decline nothing like off the bat. I mean, I would definitely
Hmm.
try both of them right off the bat just to see how good it is, how big of a difference. Because obviously, right now, Kuma, we just have him for the stun. He doesn't obviously do what he did last season, but I'd
Yeah.
definitely be open for Mothra, just see what it can do.
Okay. Because I'm pretty excited to try her out. So I figured she
Yeah.
might work well in this deck. Um. Oh man, now I'm trying to think of I had another question I wanted to ask you pretty badly. But I'm really enjoying the deck, and I feel like it has legs. I do remember my question now. I do remember my question instead of stalling. Common Rider leader. Is there a reason that you have him aside from him just being really good, or is there like a method to the madness, or you're just like, you know what, Common Rider's pretty solid. He's gonna be a good leader. Like, do you think that there are other leaders that you could probably swap in instead of Common Rider leader?
Honestly, the main reason I had him was just to avoid like having to worry about Kidu leaders and all that stuff. Like, obviously, he's pretty well balanced alone, so like
Okay.
that was like pretty attracting just to go to. You don't have to worry about flyers really, just take it out, you know. But to me, it was just more of the balancing factor, I'd say, because it just felt nice having the stun at my will, even though like you don't necessarily need the stun for the deck to work at all. I just think it's
Yeah.
just like an extra plus to it. But I just did it off of balancing reasons. It just felt nice to have it.
Yeah, I'm liking the stun on him. I'm actually having trouble in the match that I'm playing right now. We're talking to you, but I really like the stun. I sometimes forget that I even have it, and that
Yeah.
could be because I just forget that I have it, or be the pushes are already doing so well that I don't even need it. But I feel like in this deck, I feel like obviously G89 is a good leader.
Oh
I
yeah,
feel like he
100%.
probably would be good in this too, just
Yeah.
for that extra damage boost, especially on Unit Zero and the 10th Angel. I feel like don't bring enough damage regularly. I feel like Unit Zero obviously has the explosion that she does, but like just in a brawl, I'm not really relying on her,
Oh yeah.
and I
Yeah.
feel like GD9 could probably help her out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely agree with that. I feel like at that like point too, how you're saying that just for to add to it, I think that would definitely be a good point too.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a way for like, people could run this without being like super whaley. I just got beat by a guy named Slap Nuts. But I think that there are a lot of opportunities for people to run this deck without having to worry about it being, a whale fest. I get that
Yeah,
like Kumo is newer, but he's a 3, so it's gonna be easier to get pieces for him. And I get that the Angel and Unit Zero are newer as well, so it's gonna be harder to level up them. But Destroy has been in the game now for almost a year.
yeah,
GMK, I mean, everything in this deck is pretty new, but Destroy's been around for a long time, and if you have enough to put the levels in him, I think he's just becoming a decent option in general. I don't even think this is the deck that you need to run around him. I think the Destroy is just good overall.
I mean, as
But
funny enough as it is too, I kind of find it like because myself, I would be running this team on my own account, even though I understand it would be like a lower level. But I'm definitely looking forward to using it myself, even when I go back. So that should be
yeah,
cool.
I'm like, I don't want to even touch Administration One's account because I don't want to ruin your streak. Oh man, so it's at like 900,
I was
right?
959,
905,
but yeah,
959. You think you
but
can hit 1,000?
I mean, it's funny because I think it was on. I think it was Friday. I think it might have been Friday. Friday, or it was like 3 days ago, I think, or something like that. Where I actually lost the streak. It actually ended up.
No.
Yeah, it's funny because it was like a fat grind to it, but I actually wanted to reset it. Like whenever I lost it, it was
Okay.
actually one of the points to where I was like, okay, I can do it again. And it's funny enough because I think it was like day one. I think it was like the next day. I was like at 200, so I was setting some good pace, and I was like, okay, I bet I can do this in like 3 days. If I really tried for it, grind for it.
Okay.
Then that actually the servers threw me out and it disconnected me. So at that point, I was like, okay, we just take a little mental reset. I mean,
I was
I'm definitely
surprised
gonna
that
try
you
for
didn't
it.
get thrown out from the servers way sooner because I saw the
Yeah,
streak and I was like, "There's no way." I
yeah,
was like, "This is the case," but no,
yeah,
I checked it and it's all legit.
yeah. It's definitely like obviously server wise, it was definitely like went in my favor, but it's just
Yeah,
definitely crazy that it finally threw me out in that other run I did.
but listen, man, I don't want to keep you all day, but I'm really enjoying this deck. I'm about to get my ass beat again by a Japanese player, but
Yeah,
I appreciate you. I think it's not infallible. The deck, as you see, I'm losing here, but I definitely think it's really good. You've clearly mastered it. I appreciate you coming on to talk about it a little bit, defending yourself. I'm excited to see where it goes in the future. I'm definitely been investing in these characters as of lately. I'm seeing your streak with it. Clearly, um, at some level, I'm not saying it has to be done at the levels that, you and Administration 1 are using it at, but I feel like at some point this deck is gonna really run smoothly. And I think it's once you get all the characters around like maybe level like 10, like 15. I think at the minimum, I feel like they have to kind of be run. I mean, Unit 0, I feel like you get some leeway with.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I feel like, I mean, like you said, I feel like Eva Zero definitely is like a little leeway just because it is guaranteed damage. Obviously, like
yeah.
super low level, it makes sense. But obviously, when it's like 10 or at least 11, 15, like that's obviously pretty good, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just got out of a pinch with the not Mogera. There was a Mogera on me. I just got out of a pinch with the super from Kamen Rider. Oh, but they had a Kumo and a got me. But either way, the deck is full of really good characters. And I think that it does take a little bit of levels, but I don't think it's going to take as many levels as people probably think to operate this deck. I think that it's going to work at a lower margin, and I think most people have enough pieces for Destroy that they haven't been spending, that I think that this deck is probably going to do well in the future. I think a lot of people are going to see success with it, and I think it's just ahead of his time.
Yeah, I mean, if it does, that's like other people want to try it. That's definitely really cool to see. I mean, I definitely highly recommend it. I mean, it's lots of fun. Obviously, people are gonna say levels and stuff, which I get, but I know. I mean, just to me, like it was definitely a fun card deck. Definitely different, like how you use any other deck to me. So it's definitely pretty fun using something different like that. So
Yeah, well, I'm enjoying it. You clearly have an extremely high streak with it, and I hope other people will give it a fair shot. Level up your guys. If you want to use this deck, I think there's a lot of really good pieces in here that even if you level them up to use this deck, and you don't end up liking the deck, you're still leveling up a bunch of really good pieces, so they all slot into various other spots in the metagame as well. So
yeah,
thank you, Comics, for joining us. Where can we find you online? You got a YouTube, right?
yeah, Comics GBL.
I had that on the screen the whole time. I just wanted to hear you say it. But thank you so much for joining us. And I don't know when this video is going live, but I will let you know when that happens.
All right, bro, for sure, man. Appreciate this.
So thank you everyone else, and thanks so much for watching. Go subscribe to Comics if you want to see more gameplay that on his side, and we'll catch you all on the next ones. Bye-bye.